Hey guys. So, my door remote control's been out of commission. Turns out the battery is completely dead, and it's just sitting there collecting dust. Today, I'm taking matters into my own hands with a wild idea. I'm gonna try fixing it using nothing but a magnet. No fancy tools, just me, a magnet, and a little determination. Will this crazy plan actually work and bring it back to life? Stick around to watch me figure it out. So, I decided to try something simple first. I replaced the old battery with a brand new one. And guess what? The remote came back to life instantly. The moment I pressed a button, the little light blinked brightly, confirming the remote was alive again. All the buttons responded perfectly, and the gate opened smoothly. To be sure, I'll mark this battery so I know exactly which one I'm testing, and it won't get mixed up with a brand new one later. Next, I'll measure the voltage of this battery. I connect the probe to the multimeter to the battery terminals, and the screen shows the exact reading. I'll measure two batteries for comparison, one that still works and one that's completely drained. When I place the probes on the good battery, the multimeter shows a healthy voltage. But when I switch to the dead one, the reading drops almost to zero. This makes it crystal clear which battery is still usable and which one is finished. Now that I've confirmed which battery is dead, it's time to move on to the real challenge, trying to fix the remote in my own way. I grab a small plastic cup and pour a little bit of water into it. Next, I add a small amount of salt into a cup of water and stir it until it dissolves. This simple salt water solution will play an important role in my little experiment. I give the cup a good stir, making sure the salt is completely dissolved. The water turns clear again, but now it's transformed into a conductive solution. Now, I bring in the magnet, the key part of this experiment. With the salt water ready, it's time to see what role this magnet can play in helping me revive the dead battery. I carefully place the magnet into the cup of salt water and let it sink to the bottom. It immediately starts interacting with the solution. As soon as I dip the battery into the salt water, tiny bubbles rush out from its surface, clinging to the metal ends. A faint fizzing sound can be heard, almost like soda being poured. The reaction makes the whole setup look alive, as if some hidden energy is starting to awaken inside the dead battery. The magnet works by slightly influencing the movement of charged particles in the salt water. When the battery is placed in the solution, ions start moving around its surface, and the magnet's field can make this process a bit more active. Instead of just sitting around, let's experiment with a different approach. Sometimes a backup plan can lead to even better results. On the table sits a small alarm clock, completely silent. The hand has stopped moving, frozen in place, while the hour and minute hands remain stuck at the exact time the battery ran out. The ticking sound is gone, leaving only silence. Without power, this clock is nothing more than a still frame of time, waiting for a new battery to bring it back to life. Next to it is a wireless computer mouse that has also run out of power. The scroll will turn smoothly and the buttons still click, but the little LED light underneath stays dark. No matter how many times I move around, the cursor on the screen doesn't respond. Just like the clock, it's completely useless without a working battery. I check both batteries one after the other, and the result is the same: 0 voltage. Both of them are completely drained, with no energy left inside. It's clear that neither the clock nor the mouse will work until I find a way to bring these dead batteries back to life. First, I need to prepare a small wooden piece. This will act as the base to hold everything in place for the experiment. I grab 2 metal bolts and place them on the table. With the wood ready, I can attach the bolts and create a simple setup to work with the batteries. I take 2 zip ties and use them to secure the bolts tightly onto the wooden piece. Next, I slide in 2 washers under the tail ends of the bolts to raise them up, making sure both sides are level with the bolt heads. I take an old charging cable that I no longer use. I strip off the outer plastic covering carefully, revealing the thin copper wires hidden inside. These wires will be perfect for making the necessary connections in my setup. I then connect the 2 exposed wire ends to a pair of alligator clips. With these clips attached, it will be much easier to hook up the wires securely to the bolts or directly to the battery during the experiment. For the power supply, I'll use a 5-volt adapter. It's a safe and convenient source, and with the alligator clips connected, I can control exactly how the current flows into the dead battery during the experiment. I place the dead battery right between the 2 bolts, so that each end of the battery touches 1 bolt, with the wires and power supply connected. This setup will allow me to push a small voltage through the battery, almost like giving a quick jump start to see if it can hold a charge again. After about 15 minutes of leaving the battery with the magnet in the salt water, I notice the water has turned slightly yellowish. That means some kind of reaction has definitely taken place. Now it's time to take the battery out, dry it off, and test it to see if anything has changed. I spray a little WD-40 onto the surface of the battery and gently wipe it clean. The solution helps remove any rust or residue left from the salt water, leaving the battery's metal ends shiny again and ready for testing. Now I place the battery on the multimeter again and measure the voltage. With the probes touching each end, I watch the screen closely to see if there's any sign of life. Any number at all that shows the battery has regained some charge. This time, the multimeter doesn't stay at 0. Instead, a number appears on the screen, 2.8 volts. Compared to the completely dead reading from before, this is a huge difference. It means the experiment actually gave the battery a bit of life again. I place the battery back into the gate remote and close the cover. With a bit of excitement, I press the button to test it. The blue light comes on instantly, showing that the remote has power again. Now the real question is, will it actually open the gate? Ow! Instead of just testing quick fixes, I'll move on to actually charging the battery. Using the setup with the bolts, wires, and 5-volt power supply, I attach the 2 alligator clips to the bolts, one on each side, then carefully place a battery in between them, so that both ends make contact. Now the setup is complete, with the battery held firmly in place and ready to receive a charge from the 5-volt source. Now I just wait. As the current flows through, the battery slowly begins to warm up. That gentle warmth is a sign I'm looking for. It means the cell is actually taking in some charge. Once it reaches that point, I know the process is working. After waiting for a while, I disconnect the alligator clips and carefully remove the battery from between the bolts. The surface is slightly warm to the touch. Just as expected. Now it's time to put it back on the multimeter and measure the voltage again to see how much it has gained from the charging process. I place it on the multimeter again, and this time the screen shows around 1.5 volts. Right where it should be for a healthy cell. That means the charging attempt actually worked. I put the freshly charged 1.5 volt battery back into the analog clock. Almost immediately, the second hand starts ticking, and a familiar ticking sound fills the room again. Next, I place the other battery into the wireless mouse, and the LED light comes on. Finally, both devices are alive and working perfectly. In the end, what started as 2 completely dead batteries turned into usable power cells again. With a bit of patience, some creative DIY methods, and careful handling, I was able to bring the clock and mouse back to life. It's a reminder that sometimes even dead, things can have a second chance, if you know how to approach them carefully.